Welcome to Fit Over 50 Next Level Demo. We're going to start with our warm-up, marching in place. For those of you who are just joining me or did not see the first video that I did for the strength class, I work out barefoot because it gives me great proprioception to the floor. Proprioception is your body's awareness in space. It also allows me to really use my foot well. If you haven't worked out barefoot before, I would suggest that you just try a pair of shoes, sneakers that have relatively good grip but are not super supportive in cushion on the bottom. Like your running sneakers sometimes have a little too much cushion in them, and it can make it difficult to really feel the ground well. So we're starting with a dynamic warm-up. We're doing crossed body patterns. I'm working my core even as I do this because I'm making sure that my core stays nice and stable as I dynamically stretch my hamstrings. I'm trying to keep my leg straight, but I'm also getting a little bit of a stretch. My hamstring on my left side is a little tighter than my right. And we're doing the crossed patterns because our bodies doesn't work just in one plane or one side of the body. And now I'm going to go into opposite arm reach. I'm doing a quick warm up for the demo. And for this class, you're definitely going to need a step. You can make a step at home with just some 2x4s, or you can take a big fat book and duct tape it so that it doesn't slide open. It just needs to be a safe place to step up and down on. You're really reaching as you do this. I'm really planting my foot on the floor as I alternate side to side. You also want to have a little bit more weights with you. So maybe a 10, a 15, and a 20-pound weight, because you want to be able to challenge yourself with the exercises. So the first exercise we're going to do is a step down. I'm going to grab my weights. I'm going to work offset. So one weight is heavier than the other. I'm going to take the heavy weight and I'm going to bring it up to my side. I'm going to step up onto my step. I'm keeping my left leg planted, really making sure the big toe, the little toe, and the heel are firmly planted and pressing into the ground. My wrist is neutral and I'm squeezing and grabbing the kettlebells. I'm going to step side and front, side and front. I've got good tall posture. I'm controlling my knee so that it goes over basically my middle toes. I don't want my knee to go in or be super wobbly. So this is how we're progressing. If you have trouble with this, you can do it on the floor. One more down and one more side. Excellent. I'm going to swap sides. For this video, I'm not going to swap my hands because this changes the challenge of the weights on my core. My pelvis stays level, so it's very important that I'm not dropping my hip to do this. My foot is firmly planted again so that I'm working all the correct muscles in my leg. This isn't just the quad. This is the calf, the hamstring, the glute, the adductor, and the core, and all the muscles in between. One more. Last one. Excellent. Now we're going to do, I'm going to keep the weights in the same offset hand, and we're going to do a toe touch hip hinge. The reason why I'm offsetting the weight is because that makes a difference with this type of stability. So this is a little bit more of a progression than we're going to start with in the class, but I want to see where we're going to go. The toe touches, a hip hinge happens just at the hip, right? So my deadlift is just at the hip. I'm pushing through my foot to push myself back up. Hinge and push. So my core is working in all planes. So we talked about in the first video the different planes of motion. Frontal, which is your up and down or flexion extension. Excuse me, sagittal is your up and down flexion extension. Frontal is your side to side. And transverse is your rotation. So this is working on that sagittal plane of flexion extension. We're going to swap sides. I am going to swap weights, but again, I can challenge myself by putting different weights on different sides, and it's working the rotary plane and the frontal plane. So frontal plane is side to side. With the weights, I really have to hold and stay stable in this plane. As I go forward, I'm working the rotary plane, and I'm working the hip hinge, which is the sagittal plane. So left toe is touching, right foot is firmly planted, knee is slightly bent, the hinge happens at the hip, and I push through and come up. Hinge at the hip, and come up. And I'm having to really push through my foot to come up. My shoulder blades are really plugged in. I'm not letting the weight just drop and round. I'm keeping that nice and firm, and my back is nice and straight. And the toe touch is just for balance for now. Eventually we can progress to single leg. I'm also making sure my pelvis is level so that I'm not rotating in my pelvis as I come forward and back. So it's a hinge. I don't feel this in my back. Feel it in the whole back side of my leg. Good, one more. Excellent. The next one we're going to do is a plank to plank transition. So we're going to go side plank. Now, again, for those of you who need to, you can start on your knees. I'm going to go into full plank with my top leg in front, my bottom leg behind. My elbow is tucked a little more underneath, and I'm going to push really hard through my elbow and through my feet to lift up to get that contraction. I'm also paying attention to where my pelvis is so that I'm straight up and down. I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds. Keeping my core stable, I'm going to rotate just at my feet to turn me into full plank. My hips are in a neutral position. I'm not up here, and I'm not sunk down. And my shoulders are not sunk down, but I'm pushing through the ground to keep me up. I'm holding for 5 seconds, keeping straight and stable, and going from side plank to front plank, keeping core nice and stable, pushing through my toes, pushing through my elbows, keeping head neutral, and really breathing, and then rotating to the opposite side. That's 1 repetition. I'm going to come down, take a break. We're going to do 5 of those, so 4 more. All the way up, pushing really through here so I feel the connection here, and I feel the connection down here and my whole side body. Now this is working again a couple different planes. This is my frontal plane, but then I'm also getting my sagittal plane and the rotation because I'm having to keep stable as I rotate to the other side. I'm also making sure that I'm staying straight through the spine and not rotating just part of my trunk forward. And I'm really pushing my elbow to the ground and then back to center. Now, if I needed to, I could take a break and bring my knees down, or if I needed to, I could take a break and just do it on my knees. It's more important that you get the form and the connection in the right place than it is that you are able to do it the whole time in the full position. So some of you have done side planks for a long time. Others of you maybe haven't. And so it's important to do what your body can. And my hope is always to give you suggestions on how to modify, either making it easier or harder. I find on your elbows is a little bit harder than on your hands because sometimes you can rest the weight in your elbow a little bit more than getting the scapular control that you need to. One more. I'm really pushing through my elbows, pushing in my toes. That helps to get my core active. And then I'm pushing through that elbow as I rotate, but I'm not rotating my spine. I'm only rotating that feet at that area. Now I come back to center. I'm breathing and holding that stability. Count of 5 and back to here. Good. And we're going to take a break. The next exercise is a backwards lunge with diagonal chop. Now again, we're working a couple different planes at the same time. I'm going to take my weight. I'm going to show you from the side view. If you haven't done a lunge in a while, you can do a split squat with this, or you can do half kneeling. So half kneeling is here. I'm 90 degrees at this knee, and well, if I flatten my toe, I'd be 90 degrees there, but my hip is straight. My toe is tucked under. This helps me to make sure I'm in good form, and this is my place to start with. With a lunge, I'm pushing through my back foot too, and my front foot to lift me up. Now, I'm going to do a stepping backwards lunge. A backwards lunge is easier than a forwards lunge because I am not preventing or having to stop momentum going forward. So I'm standing on my left foot, I'm stepping back with my right foot, and I'm going to do a chop and lift. So the chop and lift is adding that diagonal pattern. I'm going as high up as I can, but I'm not rotating my body. I'm just changing the weight. Then I'm going to face you so you can see the front version as I swap legs. So I'm back lunge, and I'm chopping up and down to that hip. One more. Again, I'm really using my feet to help me push up off the ground. I believe that is where people end up having more trouble with lunges, is they're not using the back foot, and as they go to lift up, it's all the weight on the quad. Women tend to be very quad dominant, and if we just use the quads, but we're not firing our glutes and our hamstrings and the back part of our leg, then we're going to feel it in the knee more. The next exercise is going to be a squat with a press out. So my feet are hips distance apart, a little bit bigger than that. My toes are toed out slightly, but I'm really making sure I'm paying attention to my feet. so that my big toe, my little toe and my heel are on the ground. I'm going to take that same weight. I'm going to sink down as low as I can into a squat. But as I do it, I'm pushing my knees out as I press out and come back. Now you can go as low as you can, and maybe you start here. But just learning how to use your feet and pressing out and pulling your shoulder blades back to pull back. From the side view, I should actually see my trunk and my shins should line up so that they're parallel to each other if I'm doing the squat correctly. Again, you can go to whatever position you can. One more. But that's a little bit of a demonstration. I'm going to show you a cool down with my two favorite cool down exercises. The first one I call a bretzel. So the back leg, I'm going to grab on with my hand. I'm going to lay on my side. I'm holding up my opposite leg. So my bottom leg's in extension. I'm hanging onto my foot and I'm rotating my trunk back for 3 big breaths. All the way in and all the way out. All the way in and all the way out. Each time rotating my shoulder blade closer towards the floor and pulling my leg back into that extension. I'm going to show you from the back side. So I'm grabbing my back leg. If you need a strap to do it, you can. I'm taking my other leg up front. I'm pulling this into extension on the downside and turning back with 3 big breaths. So I'm getting, again, a diagonal stretch. We have fascial tissue that goes from our left shoulder to our right hip, both crossing in the front and the back. So this gets that actual stretch because I'm stretching in that diagonal pattern. Then my next favorite one that again gets into that diagonal pattern and gets the back part of my hip stretched is getting into, I guess people will call this pigeon pose. My left bottom hip is in extension and I kind of bring it towards midline. And I'm going to reach my same side leg forward and I'm going to rotate towards the bent leg side. Again, 3 breaths. And I should feel that stretch in the back part of my hip that's bent, in the front part of my hip that's out straight, and in my torso as I rotate. Last one. And then I'm going to swap sides. Bring that leg back, kind of tuck it over. I'm going to reach that same arm out and the other arm under, and 3 big breaths, resting into that hip. The important thing about breathing and stretching is the breathing relaxes your brain. So sometimes you will get a much deeper stretch because the breathing will help the brain to relax to get a much better stretch. Plus, the breathing helps to pull your pelvic floor and your diaphragm in, which are also core stabilizers. Well, I hope you like the little demo and reach out to me if you have any questions, but I'd love to see you for the next level of Fit Over 50.